Elias group stage. Elias group stage. He wants to be second. I want to be in eleventh because I don't want to be like.
You have to talk to more Hana, and she's probably gonna tell you no.
Bruchim Habayim, welcome to this beautiful night dedicated to studying Torah and dedicated in the honor of somebody very, very special in our hearts, in the school's hearts, and who's made an unbelievable impact on the community for many, many years to come. It is my pleasure to call upon the dean of the school, Rabbi Yechiel, to start the evening off with some divrei Torah and a formal welcome.
Thank you, Rabbi Stanley. Good evening, everyone. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about Torah tonight. I just want to say that Mr. Silverstein, who is the founder of the school, is not only on the picture, but he's with each and every one of us. Each one that studies Torah and studies to grow and be able to be who we are, it is because Mr. Silverstein invested in all that, so we can do it. In about 3 weeks, Mr. Silverstein will be honored with his family, and the honor is not just an honor, because he doesn't need our honor to be an honoree, but he wants to be honored so we can build a beautiful home for all the students of the school. So each and every one of you, if you did not yet reserve for the dinner, make sure to go online tonight, shagn.org, reserve your name, take a table, invite friends. Also, we have other honorees here who are sitting, and Shirley and Avi Alexander, that are also going to be honored. And obviously, we want everyone to be part of the family. Just want to tell you, just an hour ago, I'm getting a WhatsApp. And the WhatsApp is from a parent, from a student of our school about 10 years ago. And he tells me, he sends me a picture, how the boy, the son, is now a grown up. He's a graduation party, and he says he's number 3 in New York State in engineering. So I got it as a message, you know. Can you imagine an hour before I need to speak? He sends me already the information, what I'm speaking about. A past student in our school, Baruch Hashem, went on learning, growing, and today is number 3 in New York State in engineering. I hope I will be able to invite him. He says tonight he's flying for a wedding to Israel, so he's not going to be here tonight or tomorrow. But maybe for the dinner he'll be back, and I'll invite him to speak, maybe to say a few words. So here we understand we are growing students who are not just students, but they are leaders. The leaders in Torah, leaders in Judaism, and leaders in the world to make the world a better place. So I hope Ezrat Hashem should have a lot of nachat and celebration, should we grow from strength to strength. Thank you. I'd like to invite Hani to organize and help to make sure this is happening tonight.
Mark Twain was once asked to make a speech, and he answered that when he has to prepare a speech for a 3-hour speech, it takes him 30 minutes. But when he has to prepare a 3-minute speech, it takes him 30 hours. It's not coincidence that I read this last week as our students were preparing for tonight's Stanley Silverstein annual Torah Fair this year, Torah Ignite What is an Ignite Talk? What are they doing? As many of you know, if you have had children in older grades, we've had beautiful Torah fairs, combining and including all kinds of STEM, all kinds of research, all kinds of different events. But you know, if we look ahead, what kind of careers our students will have, sad to say, medical will become, lots of it, telehealth. Accounting will become long distance online. Whatever job you take might be taken away. But research has shown that the one thing that every promising, successful adult will need is tools for communication. And so this year, we moved to a different way, same venue. Students worked as hard, and we really practiced the art of communication. And let me tell you, none of the adults want to be up here tonight doing what your child is doing. So in 2006, Ignite Talks became a fad, became a craze. They actually also called it Petra Kucha Talks, out of Kansas City, of course, to Korea, and back to the United States again. What is it? It's a fast, fun-filled way of learning a topic of information within 5 minutes. We don't have patience anymore to listen to 45 minutes. But do you think you can listen for 5 minutes? Raise your hand. 5 minutes. Your children, your students will be teaching so much information, literally within 300 seconds. But here's the challenge. They're not just speaking. They're going to be speaking with a multi-centric 20 slides set to go every 15 seconds to rotate automatically. So they not only have to know their content, they not only have to know their presentation, they not only have to be able to collaborate with others and communicate, they have to get their message across to you. And let me tell you, it's a real challenge. So as we begin the program tonight, I just want to walk you through it and tell you what you can expect. Ignite Talks, as I said, come in all sizes and shapes. I personally had to do one at a conference, and let me tell you, it was not easy. So please respect them, respect their nervousness, respect their confidence. Every student shines in a different way. And we are so, so proud of where they are today. They have chosen 14 topics that they are passionate about. They are going to be presenting these topics to you within 5-minute rotating systems, one at a time. Give them your attention, because they've worked so hard on it. And I can guarantee you that, as it says in my office, I have a sign that says, the only time you ever look back is to see how far you've come. One day when they're in high school, when they're in college, when they're making a presentation, they're going to look back and say, I can't, but I did it tonight. It took lots of edits and lots of erasing and lots of new slides and lots of deleting, but we had a village working behind them, who I won't even mention because there's so many of the teachers, the dedicated teachers, are here tonight. We are so thankful to all of you for coming tonight, and without further ado, I'm going to present the first group. It gives me great pleasure to kick off tonight's Stanley Silverstein Middle School Torah Ignite Talks Fair by welcoming Yechiel, Leo Kavasav, and Levi Yagubian.
Check 1, 3.
Check 1, 2, 3. Wait, is this on? This is not.
It's on. You can hear you. Take a deep breath.
Boy. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Today is the Shop 2023 Torah Fair by Leo Kavasu
Levi Yagubian.
and Yechiel. And today we're going to be talking about board, the most common malacha and the most easiest to bring.
Everyone just look at this GIF real quick. Anyone see a problem? So Leo is taking out curly biscuit for his pure enjoyment, while As you can see, I'm over there. I don't look so happy. I'm taking out those curly business. I don't like that. Is this a problem on Shabbat?
Well, this is what you might think the most common thing done on Shabbat is I drove a car, I touched my phone, I touched a light. Actually, the most common thing done on Shabbat is actually called borer, which means selecting and sorting. But what is it and where did it come from? So it came from all the way back from when we were in the desert and they were putting the laws for Shabbat and they used it through the regular things that we did in the Mishkan and they would separate the wheat kernels from the chaff and they would make the lechem hapanim. So that's where the borer came from. But you can't just do borer on Shabbat. Borer is forbidden. But there are 3 conditions that have to be met if you want to do borer on Shabbat. If you do not mention at least one of these conditions, borer is nullified and you are not allowed to do it. Number 1.
Selecting good from bad. An example of this is, let's say I have a cluster of grapes. Some are rotten and some are fresh. On Shabbat, you can take out the fresh grapes for your pure enjoyment to eat, but you're not allowed to take the rotten grapes out to set aside or throw out. Number 2, bayad. This literally means with hand. An example of this is you have a pot of soup with meat, and you want to get more meat. You can't use a slotted spoon to get more meat. You must use your hands or an extension of your hand like a utensil. Finally, la'alter, immediate use. An example of this is, let's say I have a pile of clothing Friday night. I'm not allowed to take out what I want to wear the next morning to shul. However, the next morning I am allowed to take out what I'm going to wear for immediate use. Now, as you can see here, little Jimmy, he is organizing the utensils. This is not allowed because he has lunch in 3 hours and it's not for immediate use. So he's sorting right now for something that's later and it's not allowed.
So that's why Ashki's eat the filter fish. The reason is because normal fish have bone inside them. So whenever you're cutting the fish and taking it out, you're basically having borer because you're taking the bad from the good. But the filter fish has no bones inside, so you can easily just take it out without trying to break Shabbat.
But there are 3 types of borer. It's not just selecting with your hand. There's zorer, which means selecting with the wind. 2, borer, which means selecting with your hand. And 3, maraki, which means selecting with the utensils. There are 3 conditions and 3 examples for each. Number 1, selecting with the wind. If let's say you have a big piece of dirt on your apple, you can't just blow it out and call it a day. You have to take some of the piece of the apple so you do not sort or select. Number 2, you have selecting with hand. Like we just mentioned, it's called borer, and you're not supposed to select the bad from the good, like the 3 conditions we just mentioned. You are not allowed to do that on Shabbat. Number 3, selecting with a utensil. Let's say if you have pasta and it's in water, you're not allowed to just throw it in the strainer and let the water go out. That's mosek, if you're doing the bad from the good. Again, the same thing.
Now, let's say little Timmy here is playing with some Legos. His mom calls him, "It's time to clean up!" Okay, how do you think he can put it away? Now, you may be thinking, okay, put it back how you got it, sorting them together in each color, red, blue, yellow. That's not allowed though, since you're basically getting the good from the bad from the good, which is not allowed. Instead, you put it all inside of one box and scramble it up and clean it up after Shabbat ends. Now, let's say little Jimmy right now is about to eat an orange right now. Okay, so he's going to eat it. Is he allowed to take off the peel? Well, yes, because it's a round shape and it's fully enclosed. You are allowed to take off the skin and right away eat it. Only if it's for immediate use, though. Wait, sheshbach is forbidden on Shabbat? Yes, games like chess and sheshbach are forbidden on Shabbat because whenever you're taking out a piece, it's basically taking the bad from the good, which is not allowed. But some people don't follow this rule. It's a bit weird, but it's still there. Now, what happens if a bug falls in your soup? You have to just spill out the soup? No, wait, don't worry. Instead, you can get your spoon, you take out some of the soup with the bug, and take it out, and then you can eat your soup right after.
So now that we're back to this gif from the start, what was really the problem? The problem was Yechiel was taking out the bad from the good and setting aside, and Leo was correct because he was taking out the biscuit he wanted to eat. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you for watching.
5 minutes of timeless wisdom. We want to thank Rabbi Zelig sitting over there who was coaching the boys on the word. Boys, coming up for a second. Before we move on to the next unit over here, Ignite, of course, talks about bringing light from dark, dark from light. To the middle school students who work so hard, every time you finish your presentation, there's a little gift bag waiting for you on the side with a light that you can ignite, reminding you of the lights you can ignite every day and night as you go forward. And with that, let's keep it moving. We just heard from 3 8th graders. We're now going to move to a 5th and 6th grader, introducing the Amida by Orel Cohen, Michel and Idan Beckman.
Hello? Tefillah Tamida. One time, I'm Michel Stanley. One time there was this girl named Violet who never learned Torah or anything Jewish in her life. Her parents didn't care about her Jewish education.
So Violet wanted to change her life. She wanted to do more mitzvot and didn't want to tell her parents. The next day she went to shul and saw people standing, bowing, moving their feet and facing Jerusalem.
So she asked the woman, "What are you doing?" The woman said, "We are doing the Amidah."
Violet asked, "Can you teach me the Amidah?" The woman explained, "Sure, you can come to my house after shul." Violet replied, "Thank you so much. You are so kind. What is your name?" "My name is Violet," said Violet.
Violet, did you know Abraham was the first person to pray to Hashem in the Torah?
Rivka responded, "I like that name a lot. Thank you," replied Violet. "No time to waste. Let's go to my house," said Rivka.
Rivka told Violet all about the Amidah. Violet said, "Wow, this is so fascinating. I never knew about this. Thank you so much for teaching me about the Amidah."
From that day on, Violet always prayed and davened to Hashem.
What are the 3 features of the Amidah?
Number 1, praising Hashem.
2, asking for help.
3, Thanksgiving.
Before we do the Amidah, we take 3 steps back and after 3 steps forward.
After the Amidah, we say Tafri. But on special days, we don't say it and go straight to Osher.
Distractions. One isn't allowed to be distracted or think of something else during the Amidah. Do not distract anybody during the Amidah.
When? We say the Amidah every day, 3 on a normal day, but on holidays we say 4 times.
Special things in the Amidah. In winter, we say Mashtif Harur B'Marid HaGeshem. But in the summer, we say Morid Hatel. Holidays like Purim and Hanukkah, we change Modim and we add Al Hanisim.
Bye, we hope you liked it.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that introduction about Amidah. Lots and lots to study. Thank you to our teachers that are sitting here, Rabbi Aldo, who cannot be here right now, Mrs. Heisenberg, Maureen Green, Mrs. Zach, and Lord Esther, help us with the 5th grade project. We move on now to a subject near and dear to so many of us, another part of Shabbat, candlelighting and challah, presented by 2 5th graders and 1 6th grader, Alyana Aronovich, Melanie Bagdiev, and Talia Nesbitt.
Welcome to Shah Torah Fair. Our topic is Shabbat Candle and Chafasha Challah by
Eliana Ronowitz,
and Talia Nussbaum. It was Ava's first day in the yeshiva on a Friday morning, and her class was learning about Shabbat candles. Ava told her teacher,
I'm sorry, I don't really know anything because I'm from public school. But what are Shabbat candles?
Shabbat candles are what we light every Friday night to bring in the holy holiday of Shabbat. But since you don't know much, why don't you come to my house tonight and I'll show you how I light the Shabbat candles.
Later on, Ava got to her teacher's house. Her teacher said,
Before Shabbat, I like to make challah so I could do hafrashat challah.
the teacher took out the flour, the yeast, and the water, and all the things to make the challah.
What does hafrashat challah mean?
Hafrashat challah means the separation of challah.
They started making challah, and her teacher said,
Before bringing the challah, we actually have to do hafrashat challah.
I know what it means, but what is it?
Hafrashat challah is a portion of challah that we take out in the time of kneading the dough. When we hold that portion of dough, say the bracha, then say after, this is challah, and finally rip that portion and put it in foil for it to burn.
What is the reason why we do hafrashat challah?
Back then, in the times of the Beit HaMikdash, the woman would give a portion of their challah to the Kohanim. So now we give that portion, now we burn that portion as if it's for the Kohanim.
Wow, you have a lot of challah. Do you need a certain amount of challah to do this mitzvah?
Yes, most people say you need at least 5 pounds of flour in the dough to fulfill this mitzvah. And some other people say you need at least 4 pounds of flour in the dough to fulfill the mitzvah of hafrashat challah.
Before reading the challah, the teacher took a portion of the challah and said,
Now we have to say the bracha.
But what is the bracha of hafrashat challah?
This bracha is called Afish Challah. Since we're about to say the bracha, listen to me. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'Afish Challah.
What does this gibberish or bracha or whatever mean?
This bracha means, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and has commanded us to separate challah. Which is saying we separate challah, we separate challah as if we're giving a portion to the Kohanim. So this mitzvah is very special.
While reading the challah, the teacher was explaining how this mitzvah is so important to fulfill because it brings holiness to the home like Shalom Bayit, but not only to the home, but to all the Jews because we are like one. Ava and her teacher got ready for Shabbat, setting up the table with beautiful tablecloth and beautiful plates, and her teacher said,
When are we going to light the Shabbat candles?
We light the Shabbat candles anytime between 18 minutes before sundown or until sundown, but better before sundown or even before that.
The teacher started pulling out the Shabbat candles, and Ava said,
Is there any way we light the Shabbat candles, like with the saying or something like that? Anywhere we're supposed to place the Shabbat candles?
Yes, we are supposed to place the Shabbat candles close to where one is eating, so when we say Kiddush and we eat our meal, we can look at the light of the Shabbat candles.
Well, is there any way we light it, like with the saying or something?
Yes, we light with the bracha and ask for anything we need.
Anything?
Anything.
It was time for candle lighting. When they were about to say the bracha, but then Ava asked,
What is the bracha of lighting Shabbat candles?
The bracha of lighting the Shabbat candles is Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'adlik ner shel Shabbat.
Mechalik ner? What does this bracha mean?
This bracha means, Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us by his commandments and has commanded us to kindle the light of the Holy Shabbat. Which is saying we do this mitzvah to bring in Shabbat and to welcome Shabbat.
What do I do if I forget to light Shabbat candles at one Friday night?
Good question. If you forget to light the Shabbat candles and it's too late, you add an additional candle to light the next Shabbat or any other Shabbat in your lifetime. But just make sure not to forget.
The teacher started explaining the importance of lighting Shabbat candles, which is to push away the darkness by bringing the lightness not only to Shabbat but also to the whole world.
Fun facts.
Do you know that these mitzvot are both
2
of the
3.
most important mitzvot of the Jewish woman? Please listen to the end of the story.
So the end of the story is Ava has a wonderful Shabbat with her teacher Stanley.
And on Saturday, they go to shul, they daven all day. And then on Sunday, she bumps into one of her old friends from public school. And she teaches her 2 of the 3 most important mitzvahs. So she teaches her about Shabbat candles, about her friend's Mikala. And Ava really brought tons of light to the world by teaching someone 2 of the 3 most important mitzvahs. The end.
Thank you so much, and I rarely would say this, but if you were listening to this story, it's really the story of Silverstein Hebrew Academy. We strive that every single student can go as high, as deep, and reach any kind of potential. But the story tonight was about a teacher and a public school student. Standing before you tonight, you had a student who's been in Silverstein Hebrew Academy since she's a toddler. You had a child who came from public school in the lower elementary school grades. And you had a young lady who we're so fortunate to welcome to Silverstein Hebrew Academy this year, her first year in yeshiva. You can't tell the difference. You don't know. Each one in her way has learned, has grown, has reached, has inspired, and they are truly candles ready to ignite others. So thank you. And now, we move on to a prayer that's very near and dear to me. I'd like to call upon 3 tonight, 7th graders on the power of Shema, Eitan Davidoff, Rafi Shatishvili, and David Avalon. Dylan, because I could not make it, but he is with us. Oh, he's here. Dylan, he's awesome. And Dylan Pinchasava. Let's do it.
Hello? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our GPS. Tonight we are going to show you a different type of GPS, God's protection system. What is the best way to be protected as you travel the highway of life? How can we ask Hashem to protect us at all times? Now, ladies and gentlemen, put your right hand over your eyes and recite the Shema with us.
Why did our sages recommend stretching out the Dalet in the word Echad? Echad means one, but the 3 letters Aleph, Het, and Dalet represent that there is one. The Aleph is equal to 1, which represents that there is one God. The Het is equal to 8, which represents that he watches over the 7 heavens and 1 earth. And the Dalet is equal to 4, which means he watches over the 4 directions. And it shows that he's with us every step, everywhere, every detail of our lives. Where does the Shema come from? The Shema consists of 3 paragraphs from the Torah. The Shema as a whole instructs us to believe in one God, to love Him completely, and to teach our children the Torah, and to tie tefillin on our hands and put it on our heads. To write and affix mezuzot upon our doorposts, to serve Hashem wholeheartedly, and promises us that if we know Hashem will bless us with everything we need, and warns us not to stray after the Yechiel. Instructs us to put on the 4 corners of TT, and to remember that Hashem took us out of Egypt.
Did you know, aside from the 3 paragraphs of the Shema, the Talmud relates that the origin of the Shema comes from Yaakov and his children. When Yaakov was about to pass away, he wanted to tell his children when Mashiach would come. And the last minute, Hashem made him forget. And so he thought that his children were upset with Hashem. And so he told his children what is in their heart. And they answered Shema Shel Adonai Echad.
And he repeated back to them with Baruch Hashem Kivol HaKol Le'olam Va'ed.
When do you say the Shema? We are instructed to say the Shema twice daily, once in Arabi in the evening time and once in Shachri in the morning time, as well as before you go to sleep. We recite the Shema during celebrations such as Brit Milahs, Bar Mitzvahs. Throughout the highest times of our life and through the lowest times of our life. The Shema accompanied us through our entire lives.
And we see this point brought out in the following story by Rabbi Yechiel. When the Romans took Rabbi Yechiel out to be executed, he screamed out the Shema. And the students asked him, "Even now you are saying the Shema?" And he said, "Yes, of course now, because in Shema it says, you shall love Hashem with all your soul, and that means you shall love Hashem while He's taking you, even if He takes your life." you shall still love him. Even if it's hard and difficult, you shall still love and serve Hashem. Next stop in the GPS. Why do we cover our eyes when we say the Shema? We cover our eyes with our right hand to have a private conversation and have no distractions.
Now, getting closer to our destination. What happens when you forget to say Shema? If you forget to say Shema in the morning, there's an opinion from the Mishnah to say it later, and it'll be like saying Torah. But if you miss saying Shema in the evening, there's an opinion that you have until the sun rises. The GPS has been making sure that we don't get lost. Our children will say Shema on the battlefield, and even little children say it with their whole heart.
I would like to read a Bible story. One day at Lakma Omer Carnival, there was a surprise. The luggage rebbe drove by to see all the children. One 9-year-old boy was on top of the Ferris wheel. The teenager who was operating the ride got so excited to see the rebbe, he left the Ferris wheel and forgot the boy was there.
The scared little boy yelled out, Shema Yisrael, Shema Eloheinu, Shema Echad. Later, the Rebbe remarked that the World Carnival with the money and effort just to hear a little boy feel so close to Hashem. So the next time you're in your car, you put on your GPS, remember that to follow God's protection service by saying Shema. One of the first mitzvahs you do when you turn bar mitzvah is say Shema the night before, and then when you become bar mitzvah, you should put on phones. Another fun fact is the last letter of Shema is ayin, and the last letter of Echad is dal. And when you put them together, it says ed, and which means that it means witness, which shows that the Shema is a witness between you and Hashem.
Thank you.
It's not easy being 12 or just 13. Bar mitzvah speech is hard enough, but this is even harder. So a round of applause. I want to thank Rabbi Osher in the back, the giving teacher. Rabbi Osher put in a lot of work with this group, as he does with every single solitary student. And now we move on to, once again, 5th and 6th graders. We're nearly halfway there. The voice of the shofar. Jacob Ben Noah, Donnie Del Shofar, come up. Manny Cohen Gadol, and Ethan Malikin. My mistake. I'm human. We skipped one out, we skipped one too far. The A to Z of Stucco, also 5th graders. Alexa Balzada, and 2 6th graders, Ben Natano and Lila Robin-Zaga.
Welcome to 2023.
Tonight's topic is Tzedakah
By Alexa Balazada. By Lila Robin-Zaga.
by Benjamin Atano.
Once there was a poor man and a Jewish man. The Jewish man saw the poor man lying on the floor, so then the Jewish man gave the poor man $100. The poor man asked why. Why are you giving me $100? Why do I deserve this money? Why do I deserve $100? You don't even know me.
The Jewish man answered, giving tzedakah is a very important mitzvah for people to give to others in need. Oh, because long ago I was also poor, and someone came along and helped me when I needed help. I would like to do the same for you. The poor person almost began to cry because he was so touched by his kindness.
The Jewish man gave his tzedakah with a full heart. Giving tzedakah with a full heart is important, especially if you're giving it to a poor person directly. If you do it after, if you don't want to, the person will take it because you're going to feel guilty and embarrassed. The Jewish man told the poor man it's mandatory to give tzedakah every day, especially if you're over 12 or 13. It's very important to do a lot of mitzvah because you're getting older and mature.
The poor man asked if he could also give tzedakah before Shabbat. The Jewish man said, you can give it, but you can also give it before you cook for Shabbat or set the table for Shabbat. The Jewish man told the poor man,
Getting no tzedakah can also be clothing, food, money, and materials like a blanket for those in need. Or if you see someone that needs it, you can buy it for them. So the Jewish man found a gift basket in his car and gave it to the poor man. The poor man was very thankful.
Also, the Jewish man said you could put a tzedakah box in your house, office, bedroom, and even your classroom, wherever you want. The poor man asked, "What's the best way to give? What are the benefits of giving tzedakah?" The Jewish man said the benefits of giving tzedakah is it helps us provide other people's physical needs.
What's the least amount of tzedakah you can give? The poor man, said the poor man. The least is 10% of how much money you earn to give to tzedakah. But you could not give less than 10% to the Jewish man. The most money you can give to tzedakah is 20%, but you cannot give more than 20% of your money earned.
Is there a bracha for tzedakah? Said the poor man. The Jewish man said the rule before or after bracha for giving tzedakah. Tzedakah even before Shabbat or when Shabbat is over. The rule before or after bracha for giving tzedakah. The poor man asked, "What's the best way to give tzedakah?" The Jewish man answered, "The best way to give tzedakah is by giving what they need and anonymously."
Can you use tzedakah on Shabbat, said the prophet? The Jewish man said, you can give a tzedakah whenever you want, except for Shabbat, because you are not allowed to touch money on Shabbat. But you can give tzedakah before or after Shabbat.
The poor man asked the Jewish man, "Where do we give tzedakah to?" The Jewish man said, "You give it to Jewish institutions and charities because it helps give poor people money to help with their financial problems or anything else like that." Is tzedakah a religious obligation? Asked the poor man. The Jewish man said, "Tzedakah is seen as a religious obligation that must be performed regardless of anyone's financial standing, but they have to give at least 10% of money."
Do you tzedakah before you pray? The poor man asked. The Jewish man said yes. We give tzedakah before we pray because it is like asking. It is like giving a gift to a king before asking for a request.
What does tzedakah mean? Why is it so important that the Jews have to come in? The word tzedakah means charity. Tzedakah is important because we are giving to those in need or charity, said the Jewish man.
Thank you so much. We thought we knew everything about tzedakah. I learned more myself. Finally, the voice of the shofar, Jacob, Donia, Manny, and Ethan Malikin, please come up. We have sixth grader and fifth grader.
Hello everyone and welcome to Torah. Tonight our topic is Shofar by Jacob Ben Noah, Emmanuel Khan Jadol, Donia Dachshava, and last but not least, Ethan Malakhan. So once a kid was going to the Judaica store with his dad, and the kid knew nothing about shofars. So then he saw the shofar and he asked his dad, "Dad, what's a shofar?" And then the father replies with, "The shofar is an animal horn that we go on Rosh Hashanah." So they're at the checkout, and the kid picks up the shofar. He starts feeling it. "What is this, Dad? What is this made out of? This feels so weird." And then the dad replies with, "The shofar is made out of rams and antelope horns, but you have to go through a whole process of making it kosher." So then the kid's like, "How do we make it kosher? Do we eat it? No." And then the father replies with, "We have to take out the inner tissue to make the shofar kosher. But us Jews, we like to use ram horns."
Dad, why do we use ram horns out of every horn? Why ram? So then the father replies this, to remember Akedat Yitzchak, to remember when Abraham was about to sacrifice Yitzchak, but instead sacrificed a ram.
Later in the day, the kid and the father got home, and the kid asked, "What's the reason behind this? Why do we blow the shofar?" And the dad says, "The reason that we blow the shofar is to prepare for Rosh Hashanah, the upcoming holiday this month." So, with that, one of my friends told me that the rabbi told us to blow the shofar, and I said it's from the Torah. And we had a big argument over it. So now I'm wondering, did the rabbis tell us to blow the shofar, or did the Torah tell us? And then the dad says, the Torah told us because it says in the it's from the Torah. Later, while walking to shul on the day of the Chag, the kid asked, "Dad, isn't there a bracha before blowing the shofar?" And Dad says, "Yes, there is a bracha. The bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher qidsenu b'nefashanu v'nishma kol shofar." Wow, that's really cool.
2 days later, the kid and the father are at shul, and the son asks the father, "Dad, I've been waiting for 45 minutes, and he's still not blown the shofar. I've been waiting for a pretty long time. Only actually blow it." The father responds, "We blow the shofar after the Torah has been read on Rosh Hashanah." So couple son. The kid talks to the dad during the time when he blows the shofar. He asks, "Dad, I'm blowing the shofar so many times. How many times do we blow it?" "We blow the shofar various times throughout the day and 100 blow/sounds each time that we blow the shofar."
On the way back home, the kid asks his dad, "Do we have to listen to the shofar?" The dad responds with, "Yes, son. We have to listen to the shofar because we are crowning Hashem as our new king." The son comes home and asks his mom, "Will you listen to the shofar with me?" The mom says, "No, I can't, because we are Sephardic. Sephardics don't let the man and woman listen to the shofar together, but Ashkenazis do. We don't." On the second day of Rosh Hashanah, the kid asks his dad, "Why can't we use a bullhorn? That's much cooler than a ram horn. Why do we have to do that?" The dad replies to the son, "Let me tell you the reason. Because the bullhorn represents a golden calf, and we want nothing to do with that."
Later in the day, they go to shul and they hear the shofar. The kid asks, "Dad, I'm hearing different sounds coming from the shofar. What are they called? Do they even have names?" And Dad replies like, "Yes, they do have names. The names are Tekiah, Teruah, Shabari, and Tekiah Gadol."
Then the kid hears the shofar and goes home before he goes to bed and before the Chag is over. He asks his dad, "What does the shofar symbolize, and what is the reason for all of this?" The dad responds with, "We listen to the shofar to wake up for the new year, and we use the shofar as an alarm clock."
Good job, guys. Thank you for that voice of the shofar. We move all the way back to our 8th graders right now. Excited to hear from Abby Eliyahu and Rachel Siegel about unpacking Muktzah.
I'm also going to ask respectfully, unless it's an emergency, wait till the one group is finished. You need to go out and come in, so we're not disturbed. Okay, we're going to close the door, and you're going to stand here, and let the mother that you're going to be right in and out during the call. 5 minutes.
Hello, I'm Rachel Siegel, and today we're doing what's Shabbat.
If you have children and you want to run around and stand, then outside.
Hello, I'm Yechiel. And I'm Abiel. And today we are doing Muksa on Shabbat. And I bet all of you have heard Muksa before, but today we're going to explain it in detail because I bet there are a bunch of things you haven't learned. We hope you'll learn something new tonight. Muksa basically means to set aside. So when we talk about things that aren't in the spirit of Shabbat, they're considered muksa, and everything we're going to mention tonight falls into the categories of muksa. Where did the laws of muksa come from? It was originally not part of 39 Lachot, but was added later on by the rabbis and the governor of Israel and Nehemiah, because they both saw that the Jews were breaking Shabbat acts and they didn't know, so they created muksa as a fence to protect it. How many different types of muksa are there? There are actually 5 different types of muksa, and everything we'll be talking about right now is going to fall into the 5 different categories. And the first type is Klisha Malachta List. An object is promised is forbidden on Shabbat, such as scissors or a hammer, because scissors, which its main purpose is to cut, and you are not allowed to cut on Shabbat. The second is Muksa Machmach Chasarim Kits. Muksa due to a fear of monetary loss, which is a phone, a camera, a laptop, because they're expensive, right? And you wouldn't use it aside from its original purpose. You don't want to lose it or break it or anything of that sort. The next one, Muksa Machmach Gufa. Inherently Muksa, like a rock or a coin. It is an item which has really no purpose because what do you use a rock for? So it's not allowed to be moved on Shabbat. Next is Machmah Mitzvah. An item which is set aside for a mitzvah, such as sukkah decorations or schach, because it's only used as a code, right? And you wouldn't use it for anything that it's only for a purpose. And the last kind we're doing is a base for something which is muksa, such as a pencil case. Because even though the pencil case by itself is a muksa, it holds things like pencils, scissors, items of that sort, which end up being muksa. So it's a base for something that is muksa. Can muksa be moved? Only Klisha Malachta Le'isur can be moved for Letzorach Gufa and Letzorach Makama. But the other 4 types of muksa cannot be moved, but they can be touched. Letzorach Gufa is to use the item for a permissible act, such as using a hammer to crack open nuts, as the picture shows. The sort makomo is when you need the place of where the item is, such as you have like a pen or something on a chair you want to sit on, or like the place you want to use. And the next one. Basically, on Shabbat, I'm sitting, I'm bored, it's a long day, and I want to read my book to occupy myself until the day ends, but there's a camera in front of my book. What should I do? You cannot move the camera because it is muksa due to a fear of monetary loss, so you cannot move the camera to get the book, so I guess you just have to find a different book. The night before, like the good student I am, I was studying really hard for my upcoming test, but I left my pen on my chair. What should I do? You can move it because the pen is Klisha Malachta Le'isur, and you can move it for the place of where you need to sit, so you can move the pen. Me and my friends were snacking on a few nuts before Shabbat started, but we realized there are nutshells on the tablecloth. Now what should we do? You can move it. If you have bread on the tablecloth, then you can wrap the tablecloth up and throw it out, or you can use a knife to scrape the nuts off, as long as you move it in the right way. And lastly, there's a tzedakah box in my way, for whatever reason, I don't know, but there is one, and I need to move it. What should I do now? The tzedakah box is a base for something which is muksa, because coins are muksa, so you cannot move the tzedakah box, so I guess you have to find somewhere else to go. I'll find somewhere else. Are animals considered muksa? Animals are actually considered muksa because they have no inherent purpose for Shabbat. So they are muksa mehad gufa, unless it's your own pet, then you're fine. The night before was my birthday, and I put the leftover of my cake in the freezer, but now there's a piece of meat in front of it, and I don't know what to do. You cannot move the meat to eat the cake, but you can reach for the cake, and if the cake indirectly causes the meat to move, then it's perfectly fine, so you can end up eating your cake. And lastly, why are these the laws of muksa? The whole purpose of Shabbat is to study Torah. Just like, for example, if you were on a diet, you would stay away from fatty foods, right? You wouldn't go near it. Just like these are all examples of things that would distract you from the purpose of Shabbat. And that's what basically what books is.
That may have been a marathon, but you just learned so much. And we are halfway through the Torah Ignite Talks. And now, are you smarter than a middle schooler? It's your turn. So I'm going up. Everybody take a seat for a moment. We're going to call upon a special challenge that's waiting for you before we go to number 8. I'm going to ask Rabbi Zelig to come on up here. And let's see how good you can play the memory game.
Okay, I need 3 volunteers, 3 parents to come up. Don't be shy. 1, 2, 3. Come up. 3 volunteers. 3 volunteers, come up. That's 1, that's 2. More volunteers. It's Mangiv, come up. It's not that scary. Sadar, come up. Why is everyone so shy? Leo Gossip. Come up. Anybody come up? Okay, see those letters on the board? Okay, you have 10 seconds. Look at the letters. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn around, face that way. Start with the first line. Second line. Third line. Fourth line. Fifth. Sixth. Take a seat. That was hard. That was very, very hard. I think you are very, very brave volunteers. So go backwards. Right? At first, the letters look very scrambled and look like random letters. But if you switch it around a little bit, now it's much easier to remember what those letters were. So this is exactly what we do at Silverstein Hebrew Academy Middle School. If you have a lot of information and it's not relevant, it's not going to seem important, it'll be hard to remember, and you definitely will not make it part of your life. What we do in yeshiva over here is we make what we learn a part of what we do. There's 3 parts to Jewish education. There's skills, knowledge, and relevance. And our goal is to give your child all 3. And I just want to say, I'm sure you're watching tonight what the children are doing. It's much, much harder than it looks. It's not easy to prepare it. And at first, we're a little hesitant of challenging the children, the students to do this. We're very, very proud of what they've done and how hard they worked. I know it's hard to see how much work each individual student put in, but that's really what we try to produce over here. Students are not only strong enough to learn, but more importantly to teach others. Thank you very much for coming.
And right before we move to part 2, I'd like to call upon our principal, Mrs. Bacon, who has a very important message for us.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. So happy to see all of you here. And I was a little part of these Torah Ignite Talks, but I never saw the students actually show it off and do it. So I am totally amazed and mesmerized. Students, you are doing a fantastic job. And the research and everything that went into it is phenomenal. This amazing program, of course, starts with teachers who really, as we say, help unscramble, help make things relevant. With Baruchani Gazinski, who understood that there is a great way to communicate and to show information. Actually, it's a brand new way. I pride myself in knowing a lot of these things. I never saw it before. And it really is a great method for communicating and getting things across quickly and with a lot of information. Our students are involved in a lot of different things. The Torah Fair the science fair that we had a few months ago. We have students who were in the robotics competition, the yeshiva robotics competition. Some of parents are here, you know your children who have been involved in that. It is an amazing program where students learned how to build a robot and program it, and then it had to actually do certain tasks and jobs, and we competed against hundreds of yeshivot from different places, mostly tri-state, but other places, and we came in second. It was the first year. It was the first year that they did it. And some people think that, oh, so the teacher tells them what to do. Not at all. The teacher supplies the materials and gives them some instructions, and then they fly with it. And that was an amazing, amazing thing. We also are part of the Torah Bowl. We were part of it again this year. To begin with, there was some struggle, but then Rabbi Zelig rallied the troops and got them to understand that with hard work, they could do great, and they played each team and ended up going all the way to the finals. So that was really, really also an amazing thing for our students to be able to do. Some of you are aware of this, some of you parents of 8th graders. Our 8th grade students have actually achieved the ultimate achievement for 8th graders, that they've been accepted to fantastic high schools. And we know that they are going to be great in the future and take all the learning that they had here in Silverstein. I really do want to mention the people who really worked with the students: Rabbi Albo, Rabbi Zelig, Rabbi Osher, Mora Esther, and Mora Shira, and Mora Sarala. Every single general studies teacher helped the students. Mrs. Meisenberg, Mrs. Zack, Ms. Shaw, Ms. Schwetman, Mr. Ross helped with the technical materials, and of course, Mother Rebecca, the one who you sometimes speak to, helped with a lot of material. So I don't use, there's a reason, and if you look it up, you might know. Takes a village? No. It takes a group of dedicated teachers and adults and a principal who had a great vision and had everything set up for you. So I hope you continue to enjoy this, enjoy our students. We love them, and I know you will love them.
And we are ready to go to part 2. I just want to name 2 people that are here that are extremely humble, but you don't remember because some of you weren't even born yet, but I can just tell you that when Silverstein Hebrew Academy did not have a middle school, not even have an elementary school, we were like a fledgling little something, and everybody already knew that when you walk into Silverstein Hebrew Academy, there's a warm temperature, there's a positive energy, and there's a real nurturing feel. And yet at the same time, we continue to strive for excellence. And I just want to name them. And I also want to honor them and thank them for being our partners all along this journey. And it is in their father's merit that we are even here today, and that is Mina and Amy, children of Stanley Silverstein, our founder. And I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart. I also want to wish happiness to your mother, Rita, who has always been the right hand and continues to be so. And now, without further ado, we come to part 2. And we go on to Tell Me All About Tzitzit. I'm going to call upon 5th and 6th graders, Adir Balazadeh, Josh Tabaroki, Michel Sitara, and Josh Adjula.
Welcome to Torah Ignite 2023.
Tzitzi. Our topic is by Michel, Adiba Hamdan,
and Joshua. Once there was a boy named Johnny who just came from public school and transferred to a Jewish school called Silverstein Hebrew Academy. The first time Johnny got there, he saw a boy wearing strings under their clothes.
He asked this boy named Yaakov, what are these strings called? Yaakov said they were called tzitzi. Johnny became friends with Yaakov. When recess started, Johnny and Yaakov started playing together, and Johnny wanted to know more about tzitzi. Yaakov asked, what questions do you have? Johnny asked, when do you wear tzitzi? Yaakov said, some people that are really religious wear their tzitzi the whole day, except when they go to the shower or the pool, and some people just wear it the whole day, but not when they're sleeping. Johnny wanted to know more.
He asked, what does titi mean? Yaakov said titi means fringes. Fringes are the four corners of the titi. Recess was about to end, and Johnny had enough time to say one more.
Johnny asked, what are the strings made out of? Yaakov said it was made out of sheep wool that was twisted and knotted to make the strings of tzitzi. Johnny asked if he could come to Yaakov's house because he said that tzitzi is interesting and he wanted to learn more about it.
Yaakov said that he could come over. Recess was over and they had class. After school was over, Johnny's dad came to pick him up from school, and Johnny told his dad that he wanted to learn more about tzitzi and wanted to go to Yaakov's house. His dad said yes, and his dad took him to Johnny's house. Yaakov's dad opened the door. Johnny said that he came to tzitzi with Yaakov. Johnny went to Yaakov's room and asked, why do boys wear tzitzi?
Yaakov said boys and men wear titi because it reminds us about the 613 titi.
Johnny said, what does the blue mean on tzitzi? Yaakov said it means tekela. Tekela is the blue dye that was highly valued by the Asian Mediterranean civilizations. Then Yaakov's dad walked into the room and sat with them.
Yaakov's dad taught Johnny the bracha for tzitzi. The bracha is Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvot v'tzivanu al mitzvot tzitzi. Yaakov's dad told Johnny that tzitzi could be not kosher if one string is torn from the
Johnny asked how many kinds of titi are there. Yaakov said there are two kinds of kinds. Good.
Yaakov's dad said that his dad in the olden days had a different kind of tzitzi. Their tzitzi were connected to their clothing.
Johnny asked, is there any difference between tali and tzitzi? Yaakov said there is a difference. The difference is that tzitzi you wear it all day, and tali you only wear for davening. Johnny also asked how many knots and threads are there. Yaakov said that there are 13 knots and 4 threads that are folded enough to become 8 threads.
Yaakov told him that the minimum length of the sheet is 9 inches. Johnny was done learning about titi and his dad came to the game.
Before Johnny left, he thanked Yaakov and his dad for teaching him everything. His dad came to pick him and Johnny told his dad all about tzitzi.
Thank you so much, and that was good information for all of us. And we now move on to the last laws about Shabbat. Maya Aronovich and Natalie Bangir.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Yechiel.
And my name is Maya Aronovich.
And today we're going to be talking about the topic of Chutzah, which means carrying on Shabbat in the span of 5 minutes. So let's get started. The Chachamim forbid to transfer from one domain to another or to walk or carry something past 4 or 6 feet in a Rosh Hashanah. That's why an Eruv is made so you wouldn't be bored at home on Shabbat.
An Eruv is an abbreviation for Aruvei Chatzera, which is the joining together of courtyard. For example, let's say you're in a public apartment building and there's a courtyard that doesn't only belong to you. Therefore, the people of the building have to come together to make an Eruv so you're able to carry it in. An Eruv is strings that connect around poles around certain parts of a whole city or town, which acts like a symbolic wall. And instead of a bunch of different properties, it makes it unify as one large private domain, which allows you to carry on Shabbat.
To understand what an Eruv is, you need to know what the Arba Hoshir are, which are the 4 domains. Now, we're going to explain to you each one of them and what they mean and what they do. So, the first one is a Rosh Hashanah. A Rosh Hashanah is a public domain that is not enclosed, and it's very big. For example, a highway or city or street, a city street. And also, it has more than 600,000 people, and you cannot carry in it. For example, something like Times Square, where there's more than 600,000 people that are coming every single day.
A Rishut Hayachim is a private domain that is not enclosed. A Rishut Hayachim is a private domain that is something surrounded by walls. For example, a house or a fenced yard, and you can carry in it. The whole reason you can carry in it is because it's your own one private domain. A Carmelis is an open space that lacks some characteristics of a Rishut Harabim, public domain, but doesn't have characteristics of a Rishut Hayachim, private domain. This includes most streets like Melonek Road. Most public properties and streets are considered a Carmelis.
Makom Pator is something like a fire hydrant, and it is its own little space. It is something very small in a Rosh Hashanah, therefore you cannot carry in it, and it's too little to walk, but you may place something there for Shabbat. You can build an Eruv in a Carmelis and a Rosh Hashanah. Even though some Rosh Hashanah you can carry in your house may not be fully fenced. That's why you can build in a Rosh Hashanah and you can build an Eruv and a Carmelis, because it's not fully considered a public domain.
Did you know that there are 28 out of 50 states that have an Eruv? There are hundreds of Eruvim communities throughout the Jewish world. For example, Amsterdam, Manchester, London, and a lot of other cities and states. An Eruv is not so cheap. There's a lot of different things you need to do to maintain an Eruv, like check it every week. And if it breaks, it costs money to fix it. For example, to maintain an Eruv in Great Neck, it costs around $100,000.
Some people think pushing a stroller on Shabbat and an Eruv is fun. But it's only fine rolling it in a Rosh Hashanah. But you cannot push in any other domain that doesn't have an Eruv. So if you're a mother and you want to take your baby to shul on Shabbat, you have to make sure there's an Eruv so you can push a stroller.
The Torah forbids us to carry or in any way transfer anything from a Rishut Hayachim to a Rishut Harabim or vice versa. Therefore, it is forbidden to carry a siddur talis to or from shul if there is no Eruv. Let's say you want to throw a ball to someone out of your fenced yard where there is no Eruv, then that is not allowed. An Eruv cannot be made in a Rishut Harabim because it's a public domain, and the whole point of an Eruv is to make one private domain. Therefore, you cannot make one in a public domain because it's not private.
This is the Great Neck.
This is the Great Neck Eruv. It goes from Lake Success. Okay. An Eruv is one of the foundations of a Jewish community. So when you have an Eruv, you have to pay the city to use the poles and have the Eruv go around the city or town.
Let's say it was a really sunny day on Shabbat, and you really want to wear sunglasses, but you're not able to. If there's no Eruv, then you may not wear sunglasses. But if you need regular glasses to see or contact lenses, then you may wear them.
Let's say you're walking and you put your hands in your pocket and realize you're carrying something. You should keep walking and drop it in an unusual way, and you can also put it in a makom patar. If you stop walking, then not to worry, also drop the item in an unusual way. Just hope you're not carrying something expensive.
Thank you so much for sitting here and learning about our topic. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
so much. That was a lot to learn in that presentation. And now for the first presentation, and we have only 5th graders, I'd like to invite you to learn all about Sukkot, Michel Haddad, Ethan Rodriguez, and Eva Shirazian.
Welcome to the Shah Annual Torah Fair by Eva Shirazian and Michel
and Ethan Rodriguez.
Our topic today is the holiday of Sukkot. Let me tell you a story. It was Rivka and Yaakov's first Sukkot together, and they didn't know much about how to build a sukkah because they both didn't grow up so religious, but they still kept the Jewish laws and mitzvot.
So Yaakov and Michel called the local rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel, and he asked him,
What is a sukkah?
Okay, the rabbi said, Sukkot is a holiday of many names. The names of Sukkot are Chag,
Sukkot,
Chag Kasif,
and the man Simchatenu.
Yes, said Yaakov, but what exactly is a sukkah?
Rabbi Shmuel told him that a sukkah is a booth or a hut. We live in it for 8 days to remember the booths and huts that the Jews lived in while they were traveling in the desert.
Yaakov was excited to build a sukkah and rushed off to the sukkah depot. When he got there, he realized he didn't know the materials that he needed.
So Yaakov called Rav Shmuel and asked him,
How many walls does a sukkah need?
Rav Shmuel told him, a sukkah must be built to have at least 2.5 walls.
Yaakov came home with all materials he needed and built the wall of the sukkah. He knew his wife Rivka will help him decorate the sukkah.
Yaakov called the rabbi and asked him, What can we decorate our sukkah with? Okay, that's a fun one. You could decorate your sukkah with anything. But we also decorate it with the fruits of Israel, like pomegranates, grapes, and the other 7 special fruits.
So Yaakov called his wife and told her exactly what Rabbi Shmuel told him. You can decorate the sukkah with any natural item, like pomegranates, grapes, or other natural items.
But there was a big hole in the roof, so they didn't know what to cover it with. So they called Rav Shmuel, who told him to cover it with bamboo or anything that grew from the ground. Rivka wanted to make something nice in the sukkah on Sukkot. So, what meals do we have to eat in the sukkah?
Okay, so then they asked their neighbor, and he said you only have to eat meals that involve mezonot and hamotzi.
Rav said to Yaakov, you should come to my shul on Sukkot.
Okay, said Yaakov. Then Sukkot came along, and while they were eating, it started pouring.
Didn't know that if it was raining, you didn't have to eat in the sukkah. So Yaakov walked to shul. And when he got there, the rabbi said, Why are you so wet? Yaakov said,
I ate my meal in the sukkah while it was raining. Is anything wrong with that? Oh, if it's raining, you don't have to eat in the sukkah.
You like the mitzvah of Sukkot, I can see. I sure do. Okay, thank you for your advice. Wait, do you even know
why Sukkot is celebrated?
No, why is it celebrated? Okay, so Sukkot is celebrated by the commemorating of the 40 years the Jews spend the desert on their way to the Promised Land and escaping slavery in Egypt.
Oh, that was very interesting, Yaakov said. Wait, Yaakov asked, what is that big lemon and big leaves thing?
You silly rabbi said, it is a lemon etrog.
Oh, what do you do with it? You shake it up, down, right, left, and all around, and then make a bracha.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the information. I think that's all. Wait, one more thing is, how long is Sukkot?
Okay, Sukkot lasts for 8 days, said the rabbi, and it is
forbidden to write, work, or travel on the holidays. And that is our Sukkot story.
Thank you so much, all three of you. Love the delivery. Yes. Love the way it was done with such passion and energy. I will always look at this. Okay. Our next topic is actually a very heavy one, but we put no limits, and these three students chose to talk about anti-Semitism. I'm going to call up to come and share their views Adeline Del Shafar, Elia Hakim, and Emma Rubina from the Roman Empire and the Spanish Inquisition. Elia Hakimi, where are you? And Emma.
Good evening, everybody. Today we'll be talking about anti-Semitism. What is anti-Semitism?
Well, anti-Semitism is a huge problem. Anti-Semitism is when people hate the Jews.
Who hate the Jews?
A lot of people. Well, one example is the Romans. They hate us because we're Jews and that we have the Torah.
Which nation in history would try to kill us?
The Romans. 985 villages were destroyed and most of the Jews were wiped out, killed, sold into slavery, or forced to convert, banished from Jerusalem.
Elia, what language did the Romans speak?
Fun fact, the Romans actually spoke Latin.
Oh. How many times did the Romans attack Jerusalem?
Jerusalem was attacked 2 times by the Romans in the 1st century.
Really?
The Romans made the Beit HaMikdash unholy by putting a pig in it.
How could they do such a thing?
They also burned down the Beit HaMikdash.
What was that?
These are really mean.
Now let's talk
About the Spanish Inquisition.
The Spanish Inquisition was one of the hardest times for Jews.
The Spanish Inquisition made the Jews convert to Christianity.
300,000 Jews escaped through these drawing pipes.
The Jews still had hope in Hashem and always will.
Even in our hard times, Hashem saved us.
Hashem keeps us healthy and alive and good, in both good and bad times.
Now let's tell you guys a little story. A few weeks ago, after lighting the Shabbat candles, my children and I were setting the table for many guests. I was somewhat annoyed that my 4-year-old and 14-year-old sons had chosen not to go to shul with their father, which is unusual. Suddenly, my 11-year-old came rushing into the house, crying hysterically.
A beggar pushed Happy. I ran to the front door to see what was happening when I saw my husband coming, walking up the path to point to one of our Shabbat guests. His face was bleeding so badly that blood was dripping from his beard. We watched stunned as he walked in, went to the kitchen, and washed his face in the sink. My son brought him a chair.
I looked into his ashen face and was shocked by what I saw. His right eye and cheek were swollen to 3 times their normal size, and a 2-inch gash split his eyelid open. I quickly motioned for someone to call Hatzalah, the volunteer emergency medical services.
My husband explained, a beggar with a stocking on his head walked up to us and asked for help. I apologized that we were unable to give him anything because of Shabbat. As he walked by, he grabbed my arm. I asked him not to touch me or my kids. He walked past and started cursing and threatening us because we were Jews. The next thing I knew, I was on the ground trying to get up but could not because he was punching my face. People in cars stopped. This was right by our Lawson McDonald's. He threatened those who stopped that he would stab them. He finally ran off.
Hatzalah came within minutes. We needed EMTs. They got to our shul. They cleaned up my husband and called an ambulance and the police. The paramedics came and transported him to the closest hospital. We waited hours as they performed the CAT scan and the eye exam. He needed a plastic surgeon and many stitches to sew the eyelid back together.
When the plastic surgery was finished, we were ready to return home. We walked home at midnight to a dark house. The timers had shut the lights and the little children were sleeping, and the guests and the big children were waiting for our return. The children had set the table for us to enjoy our Shabbat meal, but my husband could not eat as his jaw was too swollen to allow him to chew without pain.
Here was a man who only had goodwill towards everyone he came into contact with, and yet his heinous act was perpetrated against him. It was heartbreaking. Yet I know that God is the one in charge, and a beating like my husband could have happened on the streets of Beverly Hills as well as the streets by our home. As I look back on that night, I chose to focus on what I'm grateful for.
One nation tries to kill us, but we always stand up and Hashem saves us.
That was a heavy topic, and seeing it from their perspectives, you hope there will never ever be any of these kinds of anti-Semitism situations again. And now we go back to our 7th grade, something we hold so dear, but why? The mystery of Mezuzah, Laura Damarov, Emma Haddad, and Shani Michel, who makes a mazal tov on her back.
Wonderful presentation. Boys, I'm going to ask you to stay close the door. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Silverstein Hebrew Academy Torah Fair. I'm Leora Zelig. I'm Michel. And I'm Emma Haddad. Our topic is Mezuzah. Tonight we'll be talking about the importance of Mezuzah and hopefully answer all your questions. Let's begin.
Wait, where did we get the idea of Mezuzah?
Before the parents prayed, the Jewish people put lamb blood on their doorposts so Hashem wouldn't kill their firstborn. And that's how we get the idea of Mezuzah. Did you know Hashem promises that someone who has a Mezuzah in their house or place of residency has a richer and longer life for them and their children and all the people that live in the house. Did you know that a Mezuzah is meant to remind you that in the end your house belongs to the Master of the universe, Hashem. It also represents eternal love between a person and Hashem. Another thing Hashem promises is that if you have a Mezuzah in your house or place of living,
Your house and the people in your house will be protected at all times.
even when the angel is stretched and is loose.
I keep forgetting, but isn't there another thing Hashem promises us on the topic of destruction?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It says that
Hashem promised that He will save your whole city, even if
your city is full of idol worship.
What happens if you're in a different country?
You mean living outside of Israel?
if you live somewhere from Israel, you have 30 days to put up your mezuzah.
Whereas if you live in Israel, you only have 24 hours to put up your mezuzah.
Why is that?
Because Israel is Hashem's land.
Since the mezuzah protects you,
Some people carry it everywhere with them.
They bring it to places like trials and women giving birth.
to protect them.
Some people say the mezuzah gives them protection and love.
What should a person do if they have a bad dream?
Well, there's a pretty simple answer for that. The first thing you should do is
Check your mezuzah too.
see if it's kosher.
That's the first thing you should do if you're having bad dreams.
The story of why we kiss the mezuzah is kind of something that not a lot of people know about. The story starts with Onkelos, a Roman convert.
Commentators from Moscow translated the entire Torah in Aramaic.
He was running away from soldiers,
And he passes through his home and touches the mezuzah.
after that, all the soldiers who were following him
Became Jewish.
and his life was saved.
Now let's talk about what's inside the mezuzah.
On the handwritten parchment inside it.
The first two paragraphs of the Shema. You have to make sure that nothing is smudged or ruined by checking the mezuzah twice every 7 years.
Soldiers also get something special out of having a mezuzah.
For starters, they love lots of protection in the army during wars.
But what if they don't have one?
Let's just say they won't have the best of luck.
How often should a person check their mezuzah?
Wait, so what if someone's family keeps getting sick?
They should check their mezuzah. It's possible it was smudged, or
The person who made it from.
even one mistake makes the whole mezuzah unkosher. Let's talk about where a mezuzah should be.
A mezuzah should be
In every room of the house.
Some people even put it in the walk-in closets and bedrooms. Big rooms. What happens if someone doesn't have enough money for all the mezuzah needed?
If the person can only buy one mezuzah, it should be on the main or front door. But if they can only get two mezuzahs, it should be on the main door and their bedroom door. Let's talk about what rooms a mezuzah cannot be in.
any rooms,
Such as,
Your bathroom.
it shouldn't be on your bathroom floor.
because a bathroom is considered an unholy place.
So something so holy shouldn't be on the door of a room that's unholy, according to the Torah.
How often should a person check their mezuzah?
It should be checked twice every 7 years to make sure that nothing smudged, there were no rips, and nothing was ruined. But if something was ruined, then it is no longer kosher. How and where on a door should a mezuzah be placed?
The mezuzah should be on the right side of the door.
It should be placed at a slight angle with the top of the mezuzah pointing towards the inside of the room and the bottom pointed towards the outside.
The proper place of the mezuzah
Is at the bottom of the top third of the doorway. What prayer should be said when affixing the mezuzah? Is it A, a blessing that praises Hashem who commanded us to affix a mezuzah?
B, hear its sound, whereas Hashem fill our hearts with peace.
or C, the Shema?
She said A, you're correct. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Again, so much information delivered in such a beautiful, enlightening way. We only have 2 more left to go. Our students, our scholars, have worked so hard, and I actually have a special surprise to tell you all that I just heard about from a parent here. But first, let's tap into the holiness of Shabbat and Kiddush from our 5th and 6th graders, Nili Robizadeh, Gabriel Shatishvili, and Ariella El Yayesh.
Welcome
To our Shabbat group.
My name is Nili Robizadeh.
My name is Ariella Eliyayesh.
And my name is Gabriel Shatishvili.
Many of you keep Shabbat and love it. Some of you might keep Shabbat but don't understand why you're keeping Shabbat. And some of you are not yet keeping Shabbat. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to be showing you 3 highlights that make Shabbat so special. Kiddush,
Havdalah, and Musaf.
Come with us to a Friday afternoon scene where 2 10-year-old friends are hanging out. Jeremy, who does not keep Shabbat, but his mother likes candies, and his friend Yosef, who loves Shabbat so much that they've nicknamed him the mini rabbi, aka Levi. Jeremy rings the doorbell right before, and to his surprise, Yosef's dad gets up his right to go to a party, and his mom has fresh makeup on. Even the kitchen smells so good. What's going on, Jeremy wonders. In his house, things are so different.
He's all dressed up. His dad and his mom are ready. When his dad gets home, he gets the remote and watches TV. And his mom, when she gets home, she goes on her phone and sits on the couch. Then, when he gets home, he's just playing video games. He wonders what's going on.
Jeremy looks around in surprise. This is so cool. Who told you to keep Shabbat? He asks. At my house, we only light candles. And where do you get this whole Shabbat thing from?
We learn Shabbat from a pasuk in Bereshit. V'achol hashamayim va'aretz v'achol sava'am. The heavens and the earth were finished and all their array. When we say Kiddush on Shabbat, we're saying that everything we drink and eat is holy just for Hashem.
How much wine do you need to drink? Asks Jeremy. Well, the rabbi says that you need at least 1.5 fluid ounces. Can I ask another question? Of course, ask me anything. Can you say Kiddush if you don't have wine? Good question. It is best to use wine on Kiddush, but you can also use grape juice. And if you don't have either, you can use 2 colas or matzahs.
Thank you, said Jeremy. He was so glad he learned so much. The next morning, he woke up and was so thankful he came. Before he knew it, Yosef's dad was treating him to a nice breakfast and said, now we're going to shul. Get ready.
As soon as Jeremy looked around, he was impressed by what he saw. He saw a rabbi that banged on his table and announced Musaf. Musaf begins with Osher. He knew the tune from school. We say it on Yom Tov and Chag and Shabbat.
Jeremy watched the people sing Musaf. He noticed that after the congregation said the Amidah quickly, the Hazan said it out loud. In the middle of the prayer where they all stood up and repeated with the Hazan,
Even his friend Yosef was following along, but he couldn't read. Yosef explained to him how special Musaf is. It is a special gift we give to Hashem on holy days.
As Shabbat went on, Jeremy learned more and more about Shabbat. He didn't even miss his video games, his iPad, and he enjoyed laughing and learning than driving in a car, even though his feet were very sore from walking.
Soon the sun started to go down and Jeremy was sad that the special day was almost over. Luckily, there was one more thing, Havdalah, and we say a special goodbye to Shabbat. Havdalah means to separate. We are separating the holy from the not holy, Shabbat Kodesh from the weekday.
When 3 stars came out, Yosef's father gathered everyone up for Havdalah. Shabbat ended, and his dad took out the Havdalah kit and said to everyone, "Let's do Havdalah." What is Havdalah, wondered Jeremy? What will we do now?
Yosef's father explained how we say Havdalah in a cup of wine. The ceremony divides the holy day from Shabbat from the new week. Havdalah blessings are spoken over a cup of wine. The Havdalah with a nice smell and a candle with many wicks. After Havdalah, people start doing regular weekday things again. Why do we need candles and spices? Jeremy asked, confused.
Our neshama starts getting weak and sad knowing the holy Shabbat is leaving. We therefore pass around mezamim cloves or rose water to wake up the soul, and it should not feel faint when the holy Shabbat is leaving.
Story time. Once upon a time, there was a girl who lived in Russia. Her family was trying to escape the war, so her family sent her on a boat to go live with her uncle. Her uncle was not very religious. And as weeks went on, she got a job in everything. And in her job, she kept missing Saturdays because of Shabbat. One Friday morning, her boss said, if you miss this Saturday, you will be fired. She was very nervous. She did not know what to do. So she decided she wasn't going to go. But her uncle and family was forcing her to go. She didn't go. And she spent Shabbat on a bench. Instead, that day was very nerve-wracking because she thought her uncle might get mad at her. That day when she went home, they were so relieved. She was alive, they thought, because she was only alive because there was a fire in her building. If she didn't go to the building and go to work, she would have been dead. If you keep Shabbat, Shabbat keeps you. Thank you. The end.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have to tell you, talking about Shabbat, I got a little surprise for you. I got a call from a parent right before the event tonight, maybe an hour earlier. He was so impressed by how hard his child was learning and how much they were researching and how much... I'm going to ask you to sit down for 1 minute. We have one more presentation. Please sit down. Thank you. The parent has offered to imbue all of us with a sense of Shabbat. This Shabbat, we have organized a very special Silverstein Hebrew Academy family Shabbat lunch. This parent was so impressed, he is sponsoring for every adult that comes $5 off if you attend the Shabbat luncheon. So, go online, the link is here, register until tomorrow evening. There is $5 off per adult. We have an amazing program planned, Mr. Shabbos, gift, excitement, game. We hope to see you all. And now, we're all waiting for Mashiach. What better way to end off this evening of so much learning and Torah than hearing about, can you hear the footsteps of Mashiach? Yoda Balazado, Mayana Lama, and Naomi Gutsi.
I can tell that everyone's extremely tired, so why don't we start with an exercise? Everybody say Mashiach now. 1, 2, 3, Mashiach now! Hi everyone, welcome to Torah Fair 2023. I'm Mayana Love. I'm Naomi Gutz.
And I'm Leora Belazar.
All of us have been waiting for Mashiach for thousands of years.
It seems so mystical. What exactly is Mashiach? He, she, it, what?
get right into it. I bet you guys probably think Mashiach is just another thought, another idea, but it's the foundation of Judaism.
You don't believe us? Then listen to the Rambam.
Maimonides. Out of the 13 foundational principles of Jewish life, 12 and 13 are related to Mashiach. 12 is the belief in Mashiach and the Messianic era, and 13 is the belief in the resurrection of the dead, which refers to Mashiach.
Now that I know how fundamental Mashiach is, what are some sources?
I don't have enough time to list all of them, but I'll give you a few. The second verse of Bereshit,
Also known as Genesis.
tells us the earth is astonishingly empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. On this, the Midrash comments, the Spirit of God, this is the Spirit of Mashiach.
In other words, Hashem created the world as Mashiach has it.
Mashiach was not just invented now, it was always part of our Torah mission in the world.
Okay, you know the sources, you know what it is. It sounds awesome, so how do you bring it? We can bring Mashiach in a lot of ways. Have you ever heard of the song, Just One Shabbos and We'll All Be Free?
What does that mean?
Well, there are many ways to keep Shabbat. One way is that if all just keep at least one Shabbat Mashiach.
Another way is for every mitzvah that we do, Mashiach is closer to coming. The Rambam says that each day we increase by and encourage our friends to do one good thought, one good deed, and one good action, Mashiach. Rambam
Also known as Maimonides.
writes that we should view the world as being equally balanced with positive and negative.
Any one mitzvah can stand to bring Mashiach.
Did you know there was a deadline for Mashiach?
The deadline for Mashiach is the Jewish year 6,000.
Why is there a deadline?
Hashem created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th he rested. Each day he worked represents 1,000 years. And by going into the 7,000th year, Mashiach must be here, because that's the energy of Mashiach.
Have you guys ever heard of Where's Waldo?
Well, why do we play Mashiach?
Who is Mashiach?
Well, Mashiach is a Jewish man who is a descendant of David HaMelech. He is a prophet of the level of Moshe. He will the whole entire Torah and will wage battles against Hashem. Can you find him?
As you can see, there's a before and after,
with a significant difference.
And Mashiach times everything will be different than now.
How will it be different?
Well, the Rambam says no one really knows exactly what's going to happen.
This is true, but we do know what will be the lines of.
Actually, Mashiach is when the real fun starts. There will still be same sports, entertainment, and good shopping space.
But sports or shopping will be a form of meditation. If you think of it, so will all activities we do now.
We all are very invested in technology these days, so how will technology affect Mashiach?
Technology is only here as a creation from Mashiach.
Just like how technology these days helps people not get sick.
During the times of Mashiach, no one is.
Also, with technology these days, people are trying to figure out how to live forever.
The cool thing about Mashiach is everyone will live forever.
Not only that, but even the dead will come back alive during transformation. You know, many rabbis used to be against the radio because they were afraid it would corrupt people. But the rabbi explained that we can use the radio for holiness.
When we finally become masters over our own tools,
rather than the other way around, the best way to put it is,
we ain't seen nothing yet! I think we should do something fun, like Fun Fest!
Have you guys, did you guys know that someone in every generation will have the potential to be Mashiach?
I didn't know that, but did you know that any person who does not believe in Mashiach or does not want to the Bible is rejecting Moshe, Levim, even the Torah?
That's so cool! Did you know that Mashiach is supposed to be a human being and not an angel? Also, every single day during the Midah, we daven for Mashiach's arrival.
Eliyahu Hanavi will appear when Mashiach comes and will announce his arrival.
Yes, the same Eliyahu that comes on Pesach for the cup of wine. You know that the parents don't drink.
Also, some people say Eliyahu Hanavi will come 3 days before Mashiach.
You know, I have a very interesting story to share. One day, Rabbi Osher was traveling and stayed at a hotel. When he was there, he asked the innkeeper, "Where did you get this wonderful clock?" The innkeeper said that he got it from a chacham who had to sell all of his possessions when he became poor, and it ended up in the hotel. The rabbi responded, "Of course, only a clock that belongs to the chacham, the seer of movement, can make such an amazing sound."
Most clocks make you feel like an hour that strikes is an hour that passes.
But he thought that every hour passes means an hour closer to Mashiach.
Thank you guys for listening, and don't forget about Mashiach! We want Mashiach now!
There's nothing that goes after that. Next door we have some beautiful refreshments, and you can ask our scholars any questions you would like. They worked hard. Let's hear it for them. A round of applause.
Mr. Ross for tonight.